open this door. It's hot. Everything's cracked anyway, so get some airflow in the van. I'm sitting in the van because I don't get good signal in the house. And so that's one of the first challenges as a homesteader. One of the things I want to talk about first is the difference between moving to the country and homesteading. So, country life is one thing, living out in nature, living out in the country, having a small farm, or, whether you've got an acre or 5 acres or 100 acres, living out in the country, it's going to have some similar challenges. So, the more acreage you have, the more opportunities you have. And depending on your terrain, if you're in the desert, it's going to be different than if you're in the woods. And I was really close to moving out to the desert. I don't like sunshine. Can you tell? I don't like sunshine. Um, so I don't do well in the sun, and I don't do well in extreme heat. I melt. I don't do well. Okay. I much prefer cloudy weather and rain, a little fog and mist now and again, which is murder on the solar, but it's better for me. So one of the things you're going to find early on that's a challenge is storage. And I want to make a distinction between moving to the country and homesteading. So if you have the money that you can come out and you can buy a piece of land and you can buy a house on it, or you can order a house built and have some people come out and build you a house. If you can buy a bunch of shipping containers, if you can buy a bunch of portable buildings and put them on your land, you're moving to the country. There's a car coming, I can hear it. Pause for just a second here while it goes by. It's one of the bigger trucks. So moving to the country is its own thing. Homesteading, to me at least, entails building the home. It's allergy season out here, something fierce. I've been out working in the yard, so. But if you're homesteading, you're steading the home. You're building that home. You're building something up. And so one of the problems you're going to face is storage. Do you have enough room for your stuff? That's one of the biggest problems. In addition to shelter for yourself to get out of the elements, energy production, cooking your food, storing your food safely so it's stored healthy, it doesn't go bad and spoil. These are things that are they're challenges no matter what. But storage is one of those things. And so a lot of people, this channel's where you're on a budget, you don't have a lot of money, right? You just don't have the cash to go out and say, I'm going to go blow $2,000 to $5,000 on a shipping container and have it delivered. Or I'm going to go blow $4,000 to $10,000 on one of those portable buildings. Okay. It's always cheaper to build it yourself. It just is. You have that labor cost that you can eat if you have time. And a lot of the people this channel is for, they're on a fixed income, they're on retirement, they've got, a little bit of income that comes in, and they need to get where they're going. They've gotten a piece of land and they have a small amount of income, and their life isn't all taken up by work. Hello to chat. I'm far enough away I can't see you, but it's good to see you there. Hi, chat. And hello to you again, chat. I can't quite read your name from where I'm at. I'd have to submit, but it's good to see everybody down in chat. If you're in another country, your challenges might be different, but they're going to be similar. I don't know what the economy is where you live, and I don't know what kind of income stream you have. So I go out and I work sometimes. I have a little bit of money that comes in, and I'm working really hard to develop passive income. So passive income can come from a lot of sources: retirement, an annuity, or if you've got a settlement of some kind, you've got that passive income. But writing, painting, drawing, building websites, hello, whatever you have as a way to develop some kind of passive income for you. Now, I go out and work sometimes. I go out and work in the winter. It's cold here. I go down south where it's warmer and I work. Sometimes in the summer when it's really hot, I go up north and work, or I look for indoor work. I'm trying to get on at my college. I'm really close to finishing my PhD, and we're hoping that when that happens, I've got more opportunity to make either remote work working from here or have other passive income. Maybe you got a patent and you got lucky. Maybe you've got a drop shipping business, whatever your way is. A lot of people here are going to be on a small fixed income, retirement, disability, something like that. They're not going to have a lot of money. And so going out and just buying a multi-thousand-dollar building is just not a reality. It's not practical. So how do you store things? I mean, I look around my yard and there's stuff everywhere. You get out here and you set things down and you turn around and it's been sitting there for 4 or 5 years. It's just been sitting there. And there's just not much you can do about it. It's just there. Um, you got to find a place to put it. I've got some old campers that I use as sheds that I picked up. One of them I paid $500 for. One of them I paid $200 for, and they're falling apart sheds. It gets wet in there. It leaks. It gets wet. It's not good. I need to do something else. Um, things like that. You can buy old campers off of Craigslist or the marketplace or whatever, and those can be okay storage for a while if you've got the money. Maybe you only got a couple of $100. And right now, I don't have a trailer hitch on my van. I don't have a way to move one. My truck died. I finally gave out, and I just don't have what it takes to get it going again. Um, so how do you do things? So I'm going to be over the next few weeks, the next couple of weeks, weekends. If I'm working, I'll be out of town. I'll be coming back here on weekends, and I'll be working out. Then I'll come back Friday night, work till Sunday, drive back up for Monday morning, because it's only about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive to where I'm going to be working at my school, which would be ideal. That would just be absolutely ideal. If I do get that job, I may be looking for another location in town. Most of the money I'm making this summer is going to pay tuition. That's where I'm at. So the next few weeks, we're going to be working on storage. So other problems I have, there's a raccoon that gets in my house. Possum, raccoon, the wildlife gets in. It's beating me up. It's just terrible. It gets in the middle of the night and wakes me up. I can't sleep, and it's interrupting my sleep. So I'm so tired today. I'm just exhausted, and I can't keep doing that. I've got to do something about it. So, what are my options? Live traps. I could try to dispose of the animal directly. I don't want to do that. I don't. I haven't had to yet. I've been here about 10 years. And I haven't had to. And I've been here 10 years, and it's with everything in life. Life gets in the way. If you find yourself homesteading and it's not all going perfect and it's not all hunky dory, and you wish things were different, don't feel bad, because life does get in the way. It can make it difficult to do things. So one of the things I would definitely look for, though, if I was going to do things differently, I would have built more storage over early on. I would have found more places to put my stuff so that the small living area I have would have been more productive. And I probably would have started with a foundation, or at least gravel first. Gravel is your friend. It cost me about $250, $300 to order a big dump truck full of gravel, and it's worth every penny. So, hello again to chat. Putting $1,000 into gravel over 10 years is not that big a deal. You need it. You need it to keep back weeds. You need it to keep the ground walkable. There's a lot of clay out here. It gives you a good base to be on, and you'll need it for your foundation. So gravel is a commodity. It's something you do want if you can get it. But right now I'm just looking out at my yard, and it's like, wow, there's like 5 places here. There's just stuff in my yard, and I need to do something about it. I can't do anything. I can't clean the inside of my house. I want to put concrete in this floor. I'm trying to get some money saved up so I can put some money in this floor. It's going to cost me like $1,500 to put a floor in there, to put in concrete in several days' work. And I'd really like to do that. But I just need to, get everything out of that room. Well, that means I have to put it somewhere, and I don't want to just put it out in the yard. It's going to get ruined. I've got furniture and tables that are sitting out in the yard. They're good tables, but if they sit out in the yard for 2 years, the weather and the UV just makes them crumble, and I don't want to ruin what I have. Things sit out in the yard for very long, they get ruined. It's just the nature of it. So what can you do? And that's build storage. So over the next few weeks, I might go to town today. I'm going to look at pallet wood. I'm going to talk about how to identify different kinds of pallets for what's good and what's not. Very specifically, you want to look for HT, or a heat treated mark. You want to avoid anything that says MB on it. You want to avoid anything that looks like it's been treated or painted. You just want to avoid that stuff. Go ahead and get plain basic pallets that say HT on them. Okay. There are some natural wood sealants you can use. I'll probably end up using a marine spar. It lasts a long time. It's basic polyurethane. It won't kill you. It's what they use on boats. So I'll probably end up using that. Or some other sealant. I'm not worried about staining it. I'm going to be taking the pallets apart and rebuilding them to my satisfaction so that they're uh, going to work for what I want them for. I'm going to, show how to measure your pallets and get the different sizes and do different things. If I have different size pallets, I'll show how to work with them. But basically, we're going to be taking some 4x4 posts, just treated lumber posts, and we're going to be setting them in the ground. I've got an auger. However, I'm not really worried about going that deep. I'm building a shed, and so I don't want it to tip over, but I'm not that worried about it being bedded in the ground terribly. The way I'm going to build it will be somewhat um, somewhat stable because of the way I'm going to. And I am going to go in the ground a little bit, give it a little bit of ground lock. So we'll put a little bit of concrete in there with a bolt as a ballast. I may end up using those concrete piers. So I've got a link here on my Discord. I'm going to pause for just a second. I'm going to post this live to one of the Discords there, and I will give me 1 second here. Let me pause this for 1 second. Okay, so sorry about the break. Just wanted to go over and post this to a Discord I'm on. They do homesteading stuff, so I don't know if we might get some more people in here. So hey, again, so we're going to use a simple post frame construction. I'm going to use 8-foot and 10-foot 4x4 posts. The 10-footers are a little more expensive, but they allow you to get a slope right off the bat without having to build a gable or a roof system. You can use a very simplified roofing system. So we're just going to put these a foot in the ground. We'll probably go a little deeper than that with concrete. I've got an auger. It's not working. It needs a fuel line. There may be a video on small engine repair. I've got some post hole diggers and a shovel, which is all you really need off the bat to build a shed, just a basic shed. My other shed is built above ground. It's in the ground at all. It's been there for years. And so there's a thought to just raise this up from the ground and just build it on top of the ground. You can do that. I recommend against it because of wind. Wind will move your building if it catches it just right. I've had at least one structure tip over because of wind. It was a small bathhouse. It was a little shower house I had. It was like 5x8 with a single sloped roof, and we had the water heater out there and the water pump and some batteries, and it was next to my water tank, and that way I could take a shower. It was actually really cool to have this outdoor shower. I could go outside and I could enjoy nature and take a look at my field while I was taking a shower. I had some gravel in the floor. It was really some pea gravel I bought. It was really nice. And so that's always a thought, to have another outdoor shower. And that's one of the nice things about living out in the country. But the wind caught it one day. It wasn't anchored well. So one of the things we do want to look at is anchoring this to the ground. And instead of using ground augers and anchors and cables, I'm just going to embed the posts. So 4 posts on each of the 4 corners. And then we're going to run the 8-footers going to be in about 7 feet above the ground, and the 10-footers will be about 9 feet above the ground, and that'll give me just a little bit of slope over 8 feet that I can build on. And so we'll just run a runner across the top and a runner across the bottom, and we'll run our joist to sit on top of those. or tie into them. I haven't decided if I'm going to cut them and screw into the bottoms, or if I'm going to rest on top. Both designs work. Um, One is slightly more or less complicated. Resting on top, you have to block it, so your mileage may vary. And this is only 8 feet, so I'm going to be using 2x4s, 2x6s. I may even get away with 2x4s and 1x on this because of how small it is. It's not a livable structure. It's just a shed. And the entire point of this is to keep it inexpensive. I'm planning to use a very lightweight roof, so I may not even use metal. I may use a lightweight piece of screen with latex and cement in it. And we're going to be doing some experiments with that and seeing what works to do a latex cement roof. I don't want to make a full shell, thin shell concrete. They're a little heavier, and I'm trying to avoid weight on this. So very simplified roofing structure on this. We'll be using some different building methods on it. It's an experimental structure. And one of the things that I like about this is, hey, if it doesn't work, if it's not working well, if it's not doing what I want, I can always do something different with later. I can, in a few years or a few, 6 months or a year or 2 years, I can come in and do something different. And that's definitely a thought. So, pallet wood is mostly what we're going to use. I got a place I can buy pallets for $1 a piece. Sometimes you can get them for free. So when I go to town later today, that's another one to talk about in homesteading. Just briefly, plan your trips. Town is far and gas is expensive. So you've got to plan your trips. Make sure you're not run into town back and forth. I need this, I need that, and run into town and then coming home. It runs up a lot of gas. And you don't think about it because, oh, there's gas in the car and I drove and I came back and it's no big deal. But when town is 18 miles away, it's 20 miles for me to get to town, plus a couple of miles in town. That's at least a gallon of gas. Okay. And then I got to get back. It's another gallon. So it's going to cost me at today's rate $7 just to go to town. If you're on a fixed income, that can be a lot of money. It really can. It can add up. So, plus whatever you buy there. So don't forget to add that $5 to $10 every time you go to town. If I want to go to the city, it costs me $15 to $20 each way. It's expensive. So, but yeah, getting back to it, sheds, I've been looking around. Where can I put a building on this site? Where can I put some kind of building on this site that's going to allow me to have some kind of structure? Where can I put it? It's not going to be in the way. It's not going to be burdensome. It's not going to be, where can I put this building that I can put stuff where it's not going to interfere with future plans? And that's another one. So, and what do I want to build it out of? There was a thought to do this out of very small wood, out of smaller pieces of wood. Buying one 12-foot 2x4, cutting it down to 6 feet. There's a lot of plans you can work with here. Like my other shed over here, it's a very small shed. It's a little metal shed, pre-built kit. And it costs like $400 and something for this little building, this little box. And if I was going to add another one today, it would cost me $500 or $600 to buy this little metal shed. And I would only get a certain amount of space out of it. I can't walk into it very easily. I can't use it as a workshop. So that's one of the things I'm looking at is how can I put usable space on the property? And how can I do it without breaking my bank or taking up a lot of time, energy, and money, a lot of space from other things later? What can I build out of bag concrete instead of having a mixer come in, a mixer truck, because that costs money. Those mixer trucks are expensive. And when am I going to have a couple $1,000s for a load of concrete to come in? That's a big deal. So when you're on a fixed income, when you're on a low budget, I'm always looking for ways I can get out and work and earn money and save it up. Or if I can get passive income going, doing a game, doing a book. I've got a couple of projects that were going to be games, and I'm going to be converting them to stories, write books. I put up the YouTube channel here. Eventually, maybe we get a following and we kind of show what it takes. So I've been cleaning the house. The raccoons got in while I was gone, and that made it very difficult for me to get it clean. It just, they knocked stuff off of shelves. They knocked over. I had some nice silver I got from the thrift store that kicked it off a shelf and onto the ground. They're very destructive. They don't mean to me. They really don't. And it's just really frustrating to be. They say the battle with nature. So I blocked things off and I put metal down and I went around and the thing got in last night and I can't tell where it's getting in. If it's getting in up at the roof line and in a window, if it's getting in, because I got some windows that are in there that aren't put in yet. I put plastic over it. I might need to staple them again. Where is this creature getting in my house? And it's driving me, absolutely bonkers to deal with this guy. Because I'm looking at my solar panels out here and it's got a ladder, which means when it's climbing up there, are its little claws scratching my solar panels up? Is it tearing up my electronics? Because they don't know any better. They don't care. It's a raccoon. It doesn't care. It's just not aware of what the damage it does. So live traps, I'm going to be picking up a live trap sometime in the near future. And then I'll take the raccoon and I will drive it over. If you go more than like 10 miles from where you are, they won't come back. They get lost. So I'm going to go 10 or 15 miles over to a conservation area and let it go there. That's the goal, is to let it go at the conservation area. That way it is free to live its life and I don't have to deal with it. Especially because I think this one's pregnant and I want to do it soon before it has kids. I don't want to deal with it raising another litter of raccoons in my yard because they get into stuff. They do. They just get into things. So what can you do? Okay, so challenges with homesteading, transportation, getting to and from town, watching for your gas bill. It adds up quickly. I remember one day really decided I'd worked hard. It was hot. It was sweaty. And I wanted a Coke. I was going to get a Coke because I had something to drink at the house. I could have made a pot of tea, boiled a pot of tea, but it was hot. And I could let it cool down. And I just really wanted a cold Coke. And I drove to town as a $5 Coke. This is Gatorade. $5 Coke, I'm telling you. So it does come out to a lot of money just to go to town and come back. So solar, I've flipped the camera here. We're on solar. I don't know if you can see my solar system here set up very well. I got a book kind of in there. Yes, I can zoom. There's the solar racks over there, the other side of the book. And so, it's nice to have. I can run the air conditioner on it for at least a little while each day. It's windy today. It's nice. I don't know if I'm going to town today. I probably will here in a minute. It's going to get hot, and it would be a good time for me to go. I've got ice in the cooler. I got the deep freeze running, but it would be a good time for me to go ahead and run. I need to pay my trash bill, and it's easier to do in person, or in town. So that's another one, trash. Do you get trash service where you're at? What do you do with your trash? We burned our paper trash for a while, which is fine if it's paper. Some of that paper has plastic on it. Some people really don't like doing that. We got plastic in it once or twice, and you get these black fumes come up, this black smoke. It's not good. You never want to see that. So, what do you do with your trash? We finally went ahead and bought trash service. They have to come out here with a truck. If there's an offset to it, what is your offset there? You try to reduce, recycle, reuse. So tea jugs and water jugs, a lot of times I reuse them. They become paper plates. You take a tea jug or a milk jug or a water jug, and if you're not going to refill it, if you've got enough for refills, you get to a point there's just extra. I buy a lot of tea. I cut the bottoms off and I use them for bowls or plates. I'll put like dip in there and chips. I'll put my food in there and eat out of it as a little plate. It's food grade plastic. So you got to get your microplastics somewhere. But for a chip bowl, it's fine. And then you can throw it away. You get to another reuse out of it. I use them in the garden a lot. Cut the bottoms off and use the top of it. You put it over the plant. The plant grows up through it. Take the cap off. Plant grows up through it. Keeps it protected. Works as a clutch. And then you can cut it off or remove it later. So those are kind of nice to have. Starting seedlings in, you put soil down in the bottom, you cut it and set it down in there, and you get a little miniature greenhouse, and you can get your seeds started that way. Things like that. So you can reuse a lot of your stuff out here if you're careful with it. But at some point, it just adds up. And so getting trash service and having somebody come remove debris and unwanted stuff from your house is worth doing. So it's $48 every 3 months. It's $16 a month or something. It's not very much. So that's okay. And it's worth having to me just to get things picked up. So challenges: trash. How do you keep your food safe and edible? How do you keep your food safe in storage? How do you keep climate control? It gets really cold. It gets really hot. How are you going to heat your house? How are you going to keep it cool? So insulation is your friend. I have an uninsulated structure, and that's something we're looking at doing this year. Hopefully, we get some insulation in. Trying to finish out the gas lines on the propane. I was gone, and one of the trenches here dug in, and I need to just go back through and redo some of this line. So we'll be doing that soon. I'm probably going to rearrange the kitchen after I put in the gas lines and I put in the concrete out here. I'm going to rearrange the kitchen out because I'll have more room for stuff. So do some changes in there. Be nice to have. But yeah, the tough call is adding onto the house or building a standalone shed. The standalone shed will be slightly cheaper depending on how I build it. The way things are going, I'm going to do some measuring, and I may end up putting in an addition on the house instead of the standalone. It might just be easier. We'll see. We'll see. I just don't know yet. I haven't decided. Adding onto the house means I have a room on the north side of my house, so the room next to it is more insulated. It's got more. It's sectioned off from the outside. It'll be warmer in the winter and possibly cooler in the summer, or the other room will be cooler in the summer. It's next to the house. I have to go across the yard to get to that space. It would be nice to have. And there's 2 spots on the north side of my house I would consider adding this 8x16 room and getting 2 of them. And so that would be really nice to have for utility, for storage, for this, that, and the other. On the south side, I've already got plans for this, and I want to do something a little more in depth than what I've been looking at, a little more together than what I've been looking at for that. I want to do a full retaining wall over here and have the roof come over. It'll be a little more living space rather than just storage space. But I really want to do a metal roof for that. I want to have a livable structure there. In case I ever do want to turn that into a bedroom, there's an opportunity to do that, to turn it into a bedroom. There's more siding involved. There's just more to it. So it's a thought either way. I just don't know for sure what I want to do with that. But it would be nice to have that, to get that going. And I may that in the near future, is add one or both of those spaces to the house. It would do a lot of good to add it. And then the standalone shed is, if I use pallet wood and a couple of 4x4 posts and keep it simple, I get a really inexpensive structure. And it's easy to build. It's simple. It's cheap. I can buy pallets for $1. It's not going to be pretty, but I really just want it for putting my stuff in, right? I want to get the stuff out of the yard, up on some shelves and organized. I'm thinking about doing like an L shape with it, which makes it harder to tip over. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, I've been on here for almost a half an hour, and we're just talking, we're just chatting about some of the plans out here in the yard. So adding on to the house has its advantages. Building a standalone shed has its others. I don't have as much to clear to add onto the house. Doing the clearing is going to be hard enough. Either way, I'm ordering a small carburetor kit for my my auger. I'm going to go talk to the parts in town, the parts supply place, and see if they happen to have it. If I can buy it for $2 or whatever, I'll just get the fuel lines. I have a feeling I'm going to need to get that carburetor anyway. But hey, if I can buy $2 or $3 worth of fuel lines and fix it, that's a lot better than buying, $15 worth of stuff and having to take the entire carburetor off. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know yet. Just have to wait and find out. I do need to get inside the fuel tank and see what's going on there. One's a return, one's a pickup line, and I don't know if it's if it goes all the way down into the fuel, the fuel reservoir or not. So half an hour here, the live. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and change this. And we'll give a short tour here. I'm going to walk around a little bit and share some of nature. Look around the house a little. We're just going to take a little short walk around the property here. We're not going back in the woods. The neighbors, their street light, their overhead light, which is really nice. So there you can see the panels and the house. That's the house over there and my work area. And then we've got our solar system. I've got more panels set up ready to go in. I need to get some of those, what they call them, Z-clips, those brackets, and get those added. I've got a couple of tests I need to check on voltages, make sure my volts and currents are good, some of that stuff. So, volunteer tree. Got a raspberry here. I think that's a raspberry or a blackberry one. That might be something else. All out here where you see those white flowers, this whole field is just filled with blackberries. Just tons of blackberries. So in about a month, they'll come in, a month or so, and we'll have a bunch of them. The daisies are in. They make a lovely salad. So blackberries are biennial. They only come in every 2 years. We had quite a few last year. I tried to make sure some were left. I try to stagger them what I pick. That way I get plenty of blackberries. Not liking all this sunshine. It's hot. Would like a hat. There's some shade over here. We're going to take refuge in the shade. This is another build site I had. Never got anything done with it. I would almost come back over here and want to build something. It was going to be a 2-story. The bottom floor was going to be cinder block and the upstairs was going to be wood. And then I was going to put in a barn roof, a gambrel roof for extra space. That was one of the original cabins we were going to build. And I had this area back here cleared 1 year. And it's got space back there in this meadow. I would very much like to put... I was going to put a building back there, but I'm not going to it this time. So just places out here I was looking at. There was another little spot I was going to put back there, a little like a little blacksmith's hut for doing a forge. It was going to be all local materials. If I ever get another chainsaw and get to it, I don't really want to build that out of bare hands. I guess I could. It's kind of a pain. But these are what I have for storage right now, is these old campers. Like I said, I picked them up cheap over, 1 year here, 1 year there. I think I paid $50 to a guy for that. And they all leak. But none of them are good storage. They all have water that gets in them, and they're not keeping bugs out or critters out. So, we lived in this one for a while, and I lived in that one briefly for a year or so when I first got out here. So here's the server rack. Eventually we'll put the server back in. And these all need to go to the small engine guy. Upcycle them to get one working. But, it's nice being out here. A day like today. It's awful pretty, so. I'm going to go ahead and kill feed. Just a minute. I'm getting back over to the part of the yard. I told you a building got blown over. This is what happened that's left of the building. So. It's good to see you, chat. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go get something done for the day. It's good to talk to you. Homesteading's not easy. It's hard. But it's not without its advantages, because you get to look at this all the time. Instead of buildings and gray and cars, right? If it wasn't a raccoon, if it wasn't a raccoon, a possum get in my house, it'd be a jackhammer or the neighbor's stereo or something. So I'll see you, YouTube.